Okay, good morning, guys. What I thought I'd do is share yesterday's presentation for the guys who are unable to make yesterday's S&C session at Loughborough. We didn't want you to miss out on some of the content Tim and I went through. You would have seen yesterday afternoon, I posted Tim's presentation that he delivered to Reese and to James. So please have a look through that. There's lots of really important things about tactical preparation and course mapping, which will be useful going into the season. But Tim wanted me to share with you some of the stuff I did with the guys, which was quite simple, and just sort of showing you, maybe for the first time, maybe not for some of you, Google Mapping and how Google Mapping can help with your preparation. So you need to look at Tim's slides because it will make more sense when you come onto my slides as to Google Mapping. So the first thing you would do is obviously find the golf course you're looking to play. So I've been using Tim's slides from his presentation, and the two holes that he uses we're going to showcase today and how you could Google map those. So first thing you need to do, type into Google the Belfry. You need that Google homepage to type in, because you see on the right hand side here where it says map of the Belfry Hotel and Resort. That's what you need to click on. You can't just click on the hotel website. This is what you need to click on. So we click onto that and it should bring up the Google Maps image, which it does. And down here obviously you can click on satellite. So satellite gives us satellite pictures. Begin to see what the holes look like. So we move in one more. We can begin to see an overview, a bird's eye view of all the holes at the Belfry. So the two holes Tim and I were looking at and that were in the presentation Tim delivered were the 4th and the 16th, which if you've seen Tim's presentation you will see it's these two. I'll come a bit too closer. So Google Mapping, very, very simple. I'm not going to complicate it too much. Pick your hole. So we're going to use the 4th here, which is these back tees over here. We're assuming you're playing off the back tees. All measurements will be done from the back tees. However, if you are playing on further forward tees on the day, you can begin to step out those yards so you know exactly how far the distances are. So as you can see, it's quite a daunting looking tee shot. I've not actually played the Belfry, so I'm not sure what it looks like from the tee. But obviously you've got a lot of water to carry over here. You've got 3 bunkers, which I guess are designed to be catching those drives taking on the water. And you've got a bit of a bailout zone over here. So if you want to, you can play down the right hand side and leave yourself a longer shot in. But how far are all these things? If you've not played the Belfry before, what could you do now that's going to give you a bit of an advantage when you step on that hole for the first time, whether it be in a practice round or in a competition, to give you an idea of what's ahead of you. So the first thing you'd want to know, I'd assume, is the carry over the water. So if you right click here, come on, it's not working, bear with me. Measure distance, so right clicking, measure distance, and then you click to where. So we can make sure that's the back of the back tee, and we come over here and we'd agree that that's the carry. So as you see, it's in meters, so 213 meters. It's around about 10% to add on, but to be sure I would do a meter to yard conversion. So 213, you're looking at 232 yards to carry that water. So you should know, hopefully, what your distances are, particularly with driver, 3-wood and long irons, and therefore you should be able to assume whether or not you can carry that distance and with what club. Obviously on the day you need to play what's ahead of you, so you need to take into account the conditions of the course, air temperature, all that type of stuff, wind, to get a good idea about what type of shot you need to be playing. So we now know it's 232 yards from the back tees to carry that. So you've got an advantage already. If you've not played this golf course, you've got some information about this hole. It will no longer look as daunting from the tee because you've got this information. So other things we would want to know, obviously left-hand bunker, what's the carry into that? So you're looking at 220, which again, using that conversion, you're looking at 240 with the 10%. So it's 240 to run into that bunker. We'll have a look at the other two bunkers. So you're looking at a 240 or 239, 240 into that one. So 262. And for you longer hitters, you're getting up to sort of 250 to get into there, which you're looking at 273. So we have more information about this hole. Now I'm going to clear that measurement. The other thing you can begin to look at is map out dispersion a little bit. So you may or may not know how far you hit your drivers, but I'm sure not many of you know what your dispersion rates are when you're hitting those drivers. And what I mean by dispersion is how far you could hit it left or right. So if we wanted to, we could begin to start measuring fairways. So we know here at the widest point of the fairway where you've carried the water, it's 65 meters, which is around 71 yards. So it's actually a pretty big landings area, which I'd imagine most of you, given your ability, would be able to play into, providing you can carry that 230, whether that's with a driver or a 3-wood. Alternatively then, we can start looking at, well, if you play on the safe side and you play down the right, what sort of space have you got to? So using the width there, you're looking at 36, which is going to be around about 40. Yep, 40, just under 40 yards. So you've got considerably more fairway to play with past this water hazard. Whereas if you play on the safe side and you play to the right side, you can see where those tees are there. I'll just zoom out one so you got a better idea. You can play down the right hand side, maybe probably a mid to long iron is going to get you into this sort of position. And that's all well and good to know. Well, but how far are you going to have from there? So let's assume that you hit, let's assume you hit a mid iron or a long iron to there. So you've hit it 190. Let's just check that's at the back of the tee. Yep. So 190, again, meter to yards, 207. So let's assume you've hit a 207, 210 yard shot playing safe. Well, what's that going to leave you in? So clear that measurement. We go from here. Middle of the green, obviously we don't know where pin positions are going to be. So you've got 184, so you're looking at another 200 yard shot. So when you start thinking about plotting your way around the golf course, before you get to the golf course you're going to play, this gives you some insight as to what type of shot you might want to leave yourself. So 184 meters, just over 200 yards. Again, depending on how far you hit your clubs, and you should know hopefully how far you hit and carry the ball with each club, you'll be able to decide whether this is the right play for you or not, obviously then taking into the day's conditions. It's a pretty simple way of mapping from there. Likewise, if we assume that you hit a 240, 250 shot, you're probably going to be around about there. But again, we could measure that if we wanted. So 133, you're looking at 145, which for a lot of you guys is a much more inviting shot to hit in. It's a bit easier to carry these bunkers and hazards here and over the water there. So that is essentially Google Mapping. It's a very simple introduction to how you can utilize Google Mapping. And in a minute, I'm going to show you a slightly more advanced way of doing it from using Bryson DeChambeau's example. But I just wanted you guys to have an understanding of how you can utilize Google Earth and Google Mapping with the measuring distance tool to be able to start mapping courses before you even get there. So if you're going to play courses this year, if you're going to play events that you've not played the golf course and you're not sure about, and you've maybe only got time for one practice round, you can start doing your pre-round preparation for that practice round through Google Mapping. Obviously on the day, you have to take into all the considerations, and going back to Tim's presentation, you can begin to look at mapping greens, and that type of stuff. But this will just give you a basic overview about what sort of clubs I could be hitting on the holes, what sort of distance are the hazards, and where do I want to ideally leave myself to give myself the best chance of scoring. So that is Google Mapping. So what I'm going to go through now is the Bryson DeChambeau examples. So let's come off that. We can see here in this box here, this image here, Bryson and one of his coaches, a guy called Scott Fawcett, who I've credited down here because this is his work, it's not my work, have created what they call a box. So that triangular shape there is a box. And that box represents how far Bryson DeChambeau can carry his driver, and then his dispersion. So they have those stats to be able to depict how far he can carry and average how far he hits it left and right to give him a box to aim into. Okay, Scott Fawcett has come up with a golf strategy system called Decade Golf. If you guys have a bit of time, I'd definitely advise having a look at Decade Golf. Chris Paisley has used it quite successfully this year. Obviously, he's had a really good start on the European Tour. But Decade Golf is essentially a golf strategy system for good golfers. Okay, it works on the basis that you can hit the types of shots you're trying to, or you're strategizing as you map a golf course. So this hole here is the 18th at the Dubai Desert Classic. It is a par 5, and this was what the pre-round preparation Bryson DeChambeau and Scott did before Bryson went out to play this event as an amateur. I think it was back in 2014, I think he went and played this event as an amateur. He hadn't gone out to Dubai before, as far as I know. He wasn't sure of the golf courses he was going to be playing, so they wanted to do some pre-round mapping to give them a better idea about what shots they could hit. So using Google Images, and you can see here, using Bryson's dispersion and distance, what Scott was able to do was start looking at holes maybe slightly differently. So the majority of tour pros play it down to this sort of on the dogleg corner. And they'll play it as a 3-shotter, or for the longer ones, they'll be hitting maybe a long iron or a 3-wood, 5-wood type thing into the green and going for 2 that way. However, Scott and Bryson decided to look at this hole slightly differently. And you can see from the text there that within Bryson's shot selection, he's got a shot which he can play high, carries 270, and can leave him in some really good positions. So the image here on the right hand side is that shot from Eugene. You see in the textbooks there, they make a reference to it. Now, I think this is good coaching. Scott's using some visual imagery there to sort of suggest, can you hit that shot that you hit at Eugene over the tree? Because he believes if you play that shot out in Dubai, you can cut off the dogleg and you can leave yourself in an iron left, a lot less distance than a lot of the rest of the guys are playing, and potentially there's an advantage there when it comes to scoring. So Bryson obviously took this plan out with him and played the practice rounds and tried that shot and was quite comfortable in delivering that shot. So this is what it looked like. So you can see here, he's on the right hand side of the tee box, and you can see the way the dogleg's going to the left. Now, I'll just play this through. So, what I like about this and what I pointed out to Reece and James yesterday is Bryson's clearly quite happy with the shot. You know, most golfers, when they hit a good shot and it comes at the club face where they want, they pick up the ball, they pick up the tee pretty quick and move off. Now, obviously, Bryson's playing partner feels like he's pulled it and is going to end up in all sorts of trouble on the left-hand side, and so is called for left. Bryson's not too concerned, not too fussed about playing a provisional, and feels like he's playing to his game plan. So what did this actually lead to? So here are the stats for this hole. As I said, it's a par 5, and it certainly wasn't the most difficult hole at the Dubai Desert Classic that week. You can see from the scoring average, an average of 4.78 for the whole field suggests that the guys were playing it pretty well. However, when you look at Bryson's stats, you can see that he's played it better than anyone else. So 3 birdies and an eagle across the 4 rounds, 5 under par for the event. And that's a stroke gained on the field for the event. And that's by having a game plan, having good pre-round preparation, and ensuring he goes and tries that game plan and looks a little bit differently at how to play the golf hole. This is a sort of exceptional way of doing things. I wouldn't necessarily expect you to find different ways of playing every hole you're going to play, but by using Google Images and Google Mapping, you might be able to look at holes on golf courses that you haven't played all that much before and pick different lines, different ways of playing, which could bring you gains on the field throughout an event. So have a go at this, guys. Definitely have a play around, maybe use your home club first. I know you guys will know your home course very well, but maybe see where you can potentially have some gains around the home course and just actually get used to using the measuring distance tool on Google Mapping. It's a really simple tool to use, and for you guys that are going to be playing events over the summer, I think it could be really beneficial as part of your pre-round preparation. Right, that's all from me, and I will catch you guys in March.